Oh, okay, we're going to call the meeting to order for the Finance and Governors Committee for December the 12th, 2023. And Madam Clerk, roll call and posting the agenda. And of course, we have our council member virtually too. So go ahead.
Member Turan,
I am here.
Member Basua,
Here.
Chair Zaragoza.
Here.
We have a quorum, and the agenda for this meeting was posted in the City Hall Bulletin Board on December 5th, 2023.
Thank you. And please join me to salute our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Okay. Our next item is public comments not on the agenda, and I have a young lady that's going to be virtually, and it's Tiffany Marie Hendry. Is she available?
Chair Zaragoza, Tiffany is currently not available virtually or in person.
Okay, well, we'll try it later. Okay, then, any other speakers under public comments not on the agenda?
Chair Zaragoza, there's no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Okay, our next item is item C. This is consent, City Clerk Department. Subject approval of the minutes, that the Finance and Governments Committee approve the minutes of the November 28, 2023 regular meeting as presented. Council members?
I will move the recommendation.
Okay, move. And
Second.
second. Okay, roll call. Second by Turan.
Member Basua,
Aye.
Member Turan,
Yes.
Chair Zaragoza.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. Our next item is reports. The Finance Department, subject is AB 1600, Annual 5-Year Report for Development Impact and in lieu fees for the fiscal year and 5 years ending June 30, 2023. The recommendation of the Finance and Governments Committee recommend that the City Council receive and file the AB 1600 Annual Development Impact Fee Report and a 5-year report for fiscal year ending June 30, 2023. And do we have any speakers? But we do have Javier, our Finance Director. Do we have any speakers on this item?
Chair Zaragoza, there's no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Okay, and this is an in-person presentation, Javier, so.
That's correct. Good afternoon, Chair and Council members. We have a consultant, Connie Fifth, online to do the presentation. She's been working with all the departments that have projects related, included in the report.
Who was that again?
Connie Fifth.
Oh, Connie, okay.
From Harris and Associate.
Okay.
Has been working with the different departments in the city to prepare this report. And we're going to be sharing the presentation from the city chambers, and she's going to be just walking through the presentation.
Go ahead, Connie.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much, Finance and Governance Committee. It is good to see you again this year. Can't believe it's been a whole year already. We are here again with the AB 1600 Annual Development Impact Fee Report. This year is a little different because we're also doing the 5-year annual report, and that is because we are including in lieu fees now. So next slide, please. So our recommendation is that the Finance and Governance Committee recommend that the City Council receive and file the AB 1600, the annual and 5-year report for development impact and in lieu fees for fiscal year ended June 30, 2023. Next slide, please. So a little bit of background. Development impact fees are fees that are charged on new development to fund public infrastructure projects that are ultimately to serve that new development. So it doesn't create a strain on existing development and existing public infrastructure. Assembly Bill AB 1600, commonly known as the Mitigation Fee Act, allows for cities to charge these fees, but it also requires that the city file a report annually summarizing the following information. First is a brief description of the type of fee in the account or fund. the amount of fee, beginning and ending balance in the account or fund, amount of fees collected and interest earned during the previous year, identification of each public improvement for which fees were expended and the amount of expenditures, including the total percentage of the cost of the public improvement that was funded with fees, an identification of an approximate date by which the construction of the public improvement will commence, a description of each interfund transfer or loan made from the account, and also an identification of any refunds that were made. Next slide, please. Additionally, AB 1600 every 5 years requires the city to report on the following information: an identification of the purpose of the fee, demonstrate a reasonable relationship between the fee and the purpose for which it was charged, identify all sources and amounts of funding anticipated to complete financing for incomplete improvements. And then I also identify approximate dates on which the funding referred to in requirement 3 is expected to be deposited into the appropriate account or fund. Like I mentioned, the last AB 1600 5-year report was done previously. It was done in fiscal year ending in June 30, 2020. We're doing a 5-year report this year as well because we are incorporating in lieu fees. Next slide, please. So these are the impact fees and the in lieu fees that are charged within the city of Oxnard. They're generally grouped into 3 categories, the first being government funds, second being utility funds, and then the last one in lieu fees. So the city recently transitioned a new financial system. So we listed the previous fund numbers and the new fund numbers. Next slide, please. So the first is group is the government funds. This is just a summary. It goes down more in detail in the report, but the government funds include the park acquisition, the storm drain, traffic circulation, capital growth, mobility, and public art fees. So this table lists the starting balance, the revenues that was collected last year, the expenses that were expended last fiscal year, any transfers that occurred, and then finally the ending balance.
And Connie, are those transfers carried over from year to year for the 5 years?
This is just for last fiscal year, fiscal year 22-23.
Okay.
Yes. Next slide, please. The next group of funds are the utility funds, which is the water resource, water capital facility, and wastewater collection and connection. This is a summary that shows the starting balance, revenues, expenses, transfers, and the ending balance. Next slide, please. And just to mention, we're going to go more in detail on each of the funds in the later slides. So these are just the overall summary slides, and it goes into more detail in the report as well.
Thank you.
Yes, the last 2 are in lieu fees, and this is the affordable housing in lieu fee and the utility underground in lieu fee. And these are 2 new fees that we are reporting on annually. And this shows the starting balance, the revenue, expenses, transfers, and then ending. Next slide. So now we're going to jump into each individual fee program and just give a little bit of more background. So the park and recreation fee has a fund balance of $835,000 roughly. And as you can see listed are the projects that are anticipated to use those funds. The projects exceed the fund balance. So as fees are collected from new development, the fees will go towards these future projects that are identified here. Next slide. The Storm Drain Facility Fund has roughly $10 million in the fund balance, and the CIP team is currently revamping and reorganizing and reevaluating what CIP projects are coming down the pipeline in this next 5 years. And they are also going to be analyzing which specific storm drain facility projects are going to be coming down the pipeline. But we do have an anticipated $13.45 million worth of citywide storm drain construction projects in the future. Next slide, please. The traffic circulation fee has a fund balance just shy of $16 million. On the slide, you can see the projects that are currently in progress and also planned that will utilize this fund balance of 16 million. A lot of the projects are currently in progress, but also the CIP staff are anticipating these other projects coming down the pipeline. Next slide, please. The growth requirement capital fee is split between residential and non-residential. There's two different funds. The residential fund balance has a $1.2 million fund balance. And as you can see, this fund will be used for the Fire Station 4 rebuild and the Oxnard Fire Station number 2, 3, and 5. And it is also being used to pay back the bonds that were sold to fund the Civic Center Phase 2 construction project. So there's ample projects, and as fees are collected for this fund balance, it will go towards these projects. Next slide, please. And this is the non-residential portion of the fee that has a fund balance of about 2.36 million. And again, same projects, but just the non-residential component and funding portion. Next slide. Next fee is the mobility fee. This is a newer fee that is charged in the city. The fund balance right now is about $800,000. And there are two projects that are anticipated to be using the mobility fee. And that's the Woolley pedestrian bridge and pedestrian bridge improvements. Yes, on Channel Islands. Next slide, please. The next fee is the public art program fee, which has a fund balance of a little over 1.2 million. There are 3 groups of projects planned, which are the downtown mural project, the Art Oxnard sculptures, and the citywide mural program. These projects are in progress, and the city is aware of the additional funds within the fund balance and are working actively to identify future projects. Public art projects are unique in that there are a lot of different factors that come into play in identifying and working with key stakeholders in the community to identify appropriate public art projects. So the city is aware and is working on identifying future projects. Next slide, please. This is the water resource development fee. And we're now jumping into the utility group. So the water resource development fee has a fund balance of $18 million. Utility projects generally are much more expensive than other CIP projects. And these, as listed on the screen, are the projects that are anticipated to use part of the fund balance for the water resource development fee. Next slide, please. The next fee is the water capital facility charge, which has a fund balance of about $1.6 million. There are 2 projects that have been identified to use a portion of this fund balance to fund the project, as shown on the screen. Next slide, please. Next is the wastewater collection and connection fee. This has a fund balance of about $13.6 million, and there are 4 projects identified that will be utilizing this fund balance. And then now we're going to be jumping into the in lieu fees. Next slide shows the affordable housing in lieu fee. So in lieu fees are similar to development impact fees, but separate in terms of in lieu fees are collected on development that has an obligation to fund a certain program, and in this case is the affordable housing. Instead of creating affordable housing with their projects, they choose to fund an in lieu fee, and then the city is able to use the in lieu fee to further the goal of creating more affordable housing. So the affordable housing in lieu fee is just shy of $3 million. There are several projects listed on the screen that show anticipated projects that will be utilizing this fund, and the city is also working on identifying other projects. Similar to the public art fee, affordable housing projects require a lot of coordination with external stakeholders and prime conditions. So the city is aware of the fund balance and is actively searching for and identifying projects to utilize this fund balance. Next slide. The next slide shows the utility undergrounding in lieu fee, and this is developers are able to pay an in lieu fee instead of undergrounding their utility projects in front of their projects. So there is a roughly $1.68 million in this fund balance, and the CIP team is actively working on identifying specific projects. But the city has $2 million worth of projects on undergrounding overhead utilities that are planned. Yes, and then the last slide is the 5-year funds holding test, which essentially is identifying within the fund balance which funds have been held for greater than 5 years and making sure that the city has future improvement projects that cover that 5-year holding balance. And as you can see, all of the funds have passed and are good. The city has identified projects for the balance. And that concludes my presentation. If there are any questions, the final slide is just for questions.
So Connie, or the pass means that the council approved it? Is that?
Pass means it's just it passed the 5-year test.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Not council approved or anything. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me see. Council members, any questions on?
No, it's pretty simple.
I had one quick question. I'm not sure if Teron has on 64 slide 9 for the parks, the campus park. We have $8.5 million, and so what does the 10% mean here? The fees.
The 10% is an estimate of how much the Park and Recreation fee will fund of that 8.5 million. Yes.
Okay, because that's. Go ahead.
A part of the AB 1600 report is to identify how much of the project is going to be funded by the impact fee. So this is an estimate, and as the CIP rolls out, the CIP will have more details on the exact funding mechanism to fund this campus park activation and how much will come from the Park and Recreation fee.
So then the other one, the Cabrillo Neighborhood Park, is 100%.
Yes.
Okay.
So that improvement project is 100% funded through the Park and Recreation fee.
Okay, council members, Councilman Teron, any questions?
No questions. Thank you for the presentation.
Any additional information, Javier, that we?
No, we don't have any additional information.
So it looks like we're in pretty good shape here, with the balances that we have.
Yes, we are.
Okay. So what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll move the recommended action.
Okay. We got a first by Basuam. And
Second.
Second by Councilor Teron. Go ahead, roll call.
Member Turan,
Yes.
Member Basua,
Yes.
Chair Zaragoza.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Connie, thank you, and Beth and Javier, thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Our next item, any additional speakers on this item, if any at all?
Chair Zaragoza, there's no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Okay, our next item is item number 2. This is a Finance Department. First Amendment to the External Auditor Agreement, A8223. Recommendation to the Finance Governance Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute the First Amendment to Agreement A8223 with Eddie and Payne LLP to increase the amount by $20,000 for a total amendment not to exceed amount over 5 years of $1,095,100 for fiscal year 22-23 annual comprehensive financial reporting, ACFR, single audit / auxiliary assistance. And again, this was per record item per measure M. And we do have Beth. Any questions here, council members? Councilman Tehran?
No questions, Mayor. No questions. Thank you.
So Beth, anything you might want to add to this amendment to 20,000 for 5 years? I think Eddie and Payne is doing a good job for us, by the way, but
Yeah, correct. So good evening, Chair Zaragoza and Member Pasua and Tehran. So this evening, we are asking for you to recommend the City Council to approve the First Amendment to the Edie and Payne contract based on the work that they've identified, the additional work. So we are recommending that this move to City Councils for approval. And Edie and Payne, myself, are on standby if you have any additional questions.
And like I mentioned before, Eddie and Payne has done a really good job for us in the past, going back to quite a few concerns that we had, going back to, was it 2015?
2014, 15 audits.
And so they continued to do good work. So that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Chair Zaragoza,
Any speakers, excuse me?
there's no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
And we go back to the young lady, Tiffany Marie Henry, never.
Tiffany is still not available.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve this item.
I will second.
Seconded by Councilman Basua. Roll call.
Member Tehran,
Yes.
Member Basua,
Yes.
Chair Zaragoza.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, we're now to item E. Any items for future agendas? None. I have none. Councilman Tehran?
None. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, our next item is, we are adjourned. Thank you, and happy holidays on behalf of the Finance and Governance Committee.